Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to a special episode of Monorail Memoirs. We're going to be talking about the Run Disney training plan for Springtime Surprise. Myself, my sister Lauren as my co-host, we have entered Springtime Surprise for 2026, which is in mid to late April. We're going to be doing the 5K, the 10K, and the 10 mile. And so today we're going to talk about, well, what does Run Disney recommend in terms of a training program? Something to caveat this, I'm not a doctor, not a medical professional. I'm just somebody who likes running. So feel free to take your advice from me, take it from professional sources, do whatever is right for you. With that, let's get straight into it then. The Run Disney 10 miler is actually an interesting sort of proposal. You can see here that the training program, it actually says it's for beginners, comeback runners, or non-time goal runners who enjoy the races. This is really good for a variety of different people, but something I want to bring your attention to straight out the gate. None of this is designed specifically for the Springtime Surprise Challenge. This is not designed to the 5K, the 10K, and the 10 mile. This is just a 10 miler program. That's different from when you consider elements like Dopey, for example. The Dopey training plan is specifically designed for you to be able to do all four races as it is at the Disney Marathon. And also there are other events such as the Wine and Dine as well that's designed to the 5K, the 10K, and the half marathon. So it's interesting that this program is missing from the wider body of what is the Run Disney program. But this 10 miler, designed by Olympian Jeff Galloway, so all of the Disney stuff is designed by him. And what this really pushes for is the idea of using a pacing strategy of a run, walk, run. This is the idea that you don't have to run the entire time, which for 10 miles, I understand a lot of people will struggle to do that. You will find, though, that these segments here are entirely up to your discretion. When I did Dopey for the first time this year, for the marathon portion, second half of the marathon portion, I used my own pacing strategy, which was still run, walk, run, but it was segments that I felt were appropriate. There's a lot of advice here on what to do, especially for first time runners, how you work out your pace, what you need to do for adjusting temperature on long runs, staying hydrated, notes about injuries. There's something called the Magic Mile as well, which is a time trial reality check. Personally, I don't like it, but then again, this is not designed for people who have got an interest in running. This specific program is designed for those who may be entirely new to running. And one thing I want to point out at this stage, there are some great communities online, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. There are some great communities that will happily go through all this Run Disney training stuff, because you're not doing Run Disney to set a personal best. If you are, the course isn't right, the atmosphere isn't right, the general ethos of it is far more collective, far more around camaraderie and people just trying to achieve their goals, which is what we should be aiming for. So with that said, then, as we continue to go through this document, you'll see that this is based on a 3-day training week. I like a couple of things about this. Firstly, that the first 2 runs of the week are designed around time, so that lets you fit in where your pacing is just for 30 minutes. The final event, which this has listed on a Saturday, and the reason for that is because the 10 miler that you do on Run Disney for the Springtime Surprise is on a Saturday as well. The reality is that this could be any day of the week. If you can run Monday and Wednesdays and Fridays, do that. If you can run Mondays, Thursdays, and Sundays, do that. You have to be practical in how you go about adjusting this training program to fit your own personal needs. Interesting that it mentions here, so you can walk any of the long workouts. Walking bestows the same endurance as running. That point could be debated, but for the purposes of this, we will take it as true. Interestingly enough, it does say before beginning this training program, you should have walked or run a gentle 2-mile workout in the previous 2 weeks. I think this is partly to understand where you're at as a person, making sure that you are already in some sort of baseline level of condition. Whilst this is designed to be accessible for anyone and is designed to go through a whole host of different stages of running ability, the reality is that if you can't even walk 2 miles, you may need a build-up program to get to that point. Maybe doing 10 miles straight out the gate isn't for you. Park Run is big in the UK and the US. That is a 5-kilometer run that is done almost every weekend in so many different locations and states across those 2 countries as mentioned. They are free to sign up. I recommend doing that if you want to get a taste of what the running community is like, the sort of expectations around it. And whilst they are well organized, they're not as commercial or as oiled as the machine is for a Run Disney event, but it would give you an early indicator and something to work to before going on to a Run Disney event, which takes far more effort and time as well. I like these. There is a clear and obvious progressive build where the odd weeks, which are represented on the left side of the scale, increase at a rate where week 2, 4, and 6, the even weeks, are more about maintenance of what you've currently got. For a lot of people, trying to fit this into your daily routine or weekly routine may be difficult. You may have children, especially if they're small, that makes this difficult. I also point out that this time of year, as I'm writing this, it is currently freezing outside. I went for a run today and it was very, very wet indeed, and that can make it a lot harder as well. Running on a treadmill, and this is just another personal piece of advice from me, running on a treadmill is always better than not running. However, your event does not take place on a treadmill. Your event takes place outside in the real world. It is better if you have the choice of treadmill or real world to do real world. But if your option is treadmill or nothing, the answer is always going to be treadmill. I find it can be a little bit boring. I find it can be a little hard to stay motivated as you continue to go through it, but it is what's required sometimes to get the job done. And the reality is, you are paying so much money to go and do this run. You may as well enjoy it and try and prepare yourself as best as possible. The weeks continue to progress, and as we mentioned, the even weeks stay broadly the same. The odd weeks continue to progress. This is why, and I want to bring this up, this is a 13-week program, which is effectively 3 months. Meaning if you're doing Springtime Surprise in April, you've still got another 6 weeks before you need to start this, which is great. On the other hand, this is just my personal point of view. I look at week 11. You're doing 11 miles. I do not believe that you need to run greater than the distance that you're aiming for in the race. There's different rules I've seen online. I've seen conversations around running 2/3. I've seen conversations around running 80%. Whatever it is, you do not need, in my opinion, to have ran 10 miles to go and do the 10-mile event. You have to have done the training for it, yes, but you don't have to exceed it. This is just the view that I take. And the reason I think this is interesting is it is true in almost all of the Run Disney programs. They will have you go further than you will do on race day before race day. Despite not having the atmosphere, despite not having necessarily the aid stations or the infrastructure or the crewing element, despite not having finished the training program yet, you may find it harder for the motivation. I just don't think that running more than 10 miles is needed to run a 10-mile race. So I'll caveat with this. But that is why I think this program could be quite good for doing the Springtime Surprise Challenge of the 5K, the 10K, and the 10-mile, because you will have to have a little bit more juice in your legs in order to get across the finish line at that final stage on the Saturday, the day 3. You can do it. This is a constant theme with all Run Disney stuff, that it isn't impossible. It is designed for everybody to be able to take part. And I know of various people who have done different races, whether they be Run Disney or otherwise, who thought that they would never be able to do it. Lauren, who's a co-host on this show, will admit that 18 months ago, she'd never ran 5K. She now runs marathons, and I'm trying to convince her to do an ultra with me, but we'll see about that one. Running is great from a cardiovascular perspective, a health perspective, increases VO2 max, which is a measure of aerobic fitness. And even if you're not doing it for the fitness, you're doing this because of the Disney. Run Disney is an interesting organization, but it's got some great followers. It's got a great community, and I highly encourage you to take part. Look at the videos we've done in this series, but take part in the beginning of your running adventure. I am really excited about when we get to the Springtime Surprise in 2026. We'll make sure to bring you all the content as we can. And once again, thank you for taking part. I will finish as I always do. Please stand clear of the doors. Bye, everybody.